Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locker Talk, episode 52, the show everything WWE, past, present, and future. I am your host, Koltyn, bringing you all of my thoughts on NXT TakeOver The End. Is this the end of NXT? Is this the end of NXT TakeOver? Is this the end of Locker Talk? No, don't worry. None of those things are real. I don't think so, at least. So NXT TakeOver The End. So first off, my thoughts before the show. I wasn't really super excited about this one. It just seemed to me to be a little bit of a weak card. Not very many matches, only 5 matches. But I don't know if it was the lack of expectation or it was just that good, but I was very pleasantly surprised with the product. Once again, I should not shouldn't have not believed, I guess, in NXT. They pull through as they always do and put on an amazing show, which they did once again. So let's just go through this really quick. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, which probably means that I'll talk about it for a long time, but we'll see. So we start off the night in the most perfect way possible with the perfect 10, Ty Dillinger. And obviously, the first thing you notice is how pumped the crowd is for Ty Dillinger. Really behind his corner with this new guy whose first name I can't really spell. Andrade Cien Almas. I'm just going to call him Cien Almas or Almas because my Spanish is no bueno. So really, man, the crowd was super behind Ty Dillinger. I didn't think he had a prayer in the world in this match, seeing as he was not debuting. He's been around for a long time. But, man, I really hope they start doing something with him. Absolutely amazing. Almas, this guy, he's touted throughout the indie scene as being a fantastic wrestler. Honestly, I was impressed. I tweeted to, I don't remember exactly who I tweeted this to. After the match, they asked if we were impressed, and I said I was impressed, but I didn't really like it. He did lots of really cool acrobatics, but other than that, he didn't really do a whole lot in match terms, in terms of wrestling moves. He was very good at stopping his forward movement. That super kick while he was hanging upside down the ropes by Dillinger was phenomenal, amazing. I can't explain enough how much I love Ty Dillinger, which is why I made him one of my very special and very early draft picks in my WWE draft, which is our last video, which you should definitely go take a look at. Personally, it's one of my favorites that we've ever done. It was really fun to do, and I don't ever really watch our shows after we made them, but I actually went back and watched that one, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if that's just because it's obviously us, so I know us pretty well. But it's a really fun show. Make sure you go watch that. That was episode 51. But yeah, I think if they had a little bit more time, I will be hopefully impressed with Almas, Mr. Almas, Senor Almas, whatever we're gonna call him. Once again, Spanish es no bueno. But yeah, Ty Dillinger, man, I really hope they do something with him. He's been in NXT for so long now, and they still really haven't done anything with him. I'm super excited that he just got a T-shirt that came out today. I'm going to hopefully make some money and definitely buy that shirt. It's a really good-looking shirt. Make sure you go check that out at www.shop.com. But yeah, solid match. Sad that Ty Dillinger had to lose. It was kind of expected. Not really sure about the whole kind of PG era Godfather pimp look on Cien Almas, but it's a look. I guess it made him stand out and made people talk about it, so I assume that was the whole point. So next we move on to the tag team title match of the Revival against American Alpha. Dash and Dawson against Gable and Jordan. I almost don't want to talk about this match right here because this was my absolute favorite match on the card. They just went full bore, beginning to end. So many really good sequences, so many moves. The drop kick into the German suplex, the counters, the hot tag, the way they built up to that hot tag with Gable getting beat up, in which they do this every match. Obviously, it's a known WWE or wrestling trope, but they built it up and they built it so long in this match. It was absolutely amazing. Everyone was just waiting for him to get that tag, and I thought American Alpha was a lock to win this match. But I was pleasantly surprised that the Revival got the win, the first ever 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions, which I like. I really, really like both of these teams. I think they bring a lot to the table. I think we're seeing a little bit more personality out of Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, which is really good to see. And so, man, just top to bottom, everything they did in this match was fluid. It made sense. They told a great story. They put on some amazing wrestling moves. And at the end, they ended up surprising us, which is something that I feel like NXT doesn't really do a whole lot. One of my issues before this was that the card felt a bit predictable. And everything really, other than this match, was pretty predictable. Excuse me. Whew, that pizza's coming up. It was delicious, but burnt my mouth. Wasn't fun, but I enjoyed it. Go check Pizza out if you haven't been living under a rock. It'll change your life. But yeah, really great match. And then at the end, the two giant hulking men, who I'm pretty sure one of them was supposed to face Brock Lesnar at UFC 200. I can't be sure, but he looked like that person, Mark Hunt. Apparently, they're the authors of something. I'm blanking on this really bad. I don't know what's gotten over me, but they're the authors. So I've never heard of them before. Honestly, they're kind of look to be like a 3-minute warning kind of thing, which started off pretty well, but didn't end so hot. But we'll see. And then we get Paul Ellering come out, who's apparently they're going to be their manager, which is a big coup for them. And honestly, when he first came out, I thought to myself, who is this man? I know I'm supposed to know who he is. He looked really, really familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then Grace obviously said Paul Ellering. I'm like, oh, honestly, I didn't know he was still alive. So really big coup for that team. It legitimizes them off the bat as he's a former manager of the Road Warriors. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Honestly, just coming off the loss, I thought American Alpha was like, all right, boom, they're headed straight for the main roster, which is great because there's a lot of great tag team stuff going on in the main roster right now. I'm super excited for that SummerSlam Fatal 4-Way match with the Club, the Vaudevillains, Enzo Big Cass, and of course the New Day. So I don't know. They have obviously a rematch clause. If WWE doesn't choose to ignore it, as they've done in the past sometimes, they might start a feud with the big Samoan men. They might go up to the main roster, but man, the sky is the limit for Gable and Jordan. Just so amazing. Everything they did was so crisp and clean and looked absolutely amazing. As I'm going through here, I'm just now realizing that I forgot to read off the tweets that we got up before the show started. And I'm going to apologize for that. I just wasn't thinking. But I'm going to do that right now because I do appreciate y'all's tweets a lot. I love being able to interact with everybody on Twitter. Honestly, that's probably for me just as fun as doing this show, is being able to interact with everyone through Twitter, get different points of view, people who don't think the same way I do, who we can still be respectable about it. Well, at least most of you. I don't think we have a problem with that with any of the people who watch this show or we follow or anything like that. But all right, so I'm going to stop stalling and I'm going to read these tweets. The first one comes from @Smark4Wrastlin. Wrastlin, not wrestling. Let's get it right, folks. This is a Southern tradition here. Who has said, very good show. Each match stood out in a different way. Really like the importance of the cage, and the wrestling was awesome. I can't disagree there. Very good point. And the next comes from Jared, who is @KDP Buddha on Twitter, said, another great show from top to bottom. Only real surprises were the tag title swap and Paul Ellering. Once again, I agree. Solid show. Can't wait to see what's next for Joe. There might be something at the end of the show. Works without, though. Yeah. I'll get to the Joe and Balor match soonish. But yeah, great tweet. Thanks, guys. Once again, there's @Smark4Wrestling and @KDP Buddha on Twitter. Make sure you go give them a follow. Really great Twitter accounts. Lots of fun talking about wrestling with those folks. All right, so next match, we get Shinsuke Nakamura against Austin Aries. And I've been very vocal about how I haven't really been impressed with Austin Aries up to this point. And he calls himself the greatest man who's ever lived. And I haven't really seen it. It's been a long time. I watched, TNA way back 8 or 9 years ago, whenever it was last relevant, 10 years ago. And was he there back then? I think he was. I could be wrong. But up until this point, he hasn't really shown, I don't think, what he's capable of. And I really hope to be able to be proven wrong tonight. Because how can you have a bad match with Shinsuke Nakamura? And the match started off pretty well. A little slow. It kind of seemed like they were kind of going off the same vibe that Nakamura and Zayn had, with Aries kind of mocking Nakamura the same way Zayn did and stuff. Unfortunately, I got a bit distracted at the end. I had a friend come over to pick up some papers for me, so I was a bit distracted for the middle most of that match, probably 5 to 10 minutes in the middle there. And so I got to watch the beginning of the match and then the very end. The end, I remember watching the beginning and they were relatively normal, and then I come back and see that they're just, Nakamura's hair is everywhere and just sweat all over everything. So I'm definitely going to have to go back and rewatch this match, because it seemed like a very hard-hitting match. That Death Valley driver onto the apron, that has to hurt. Aries flying over and smacking his head on the railing. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but it looked like it hurt a heck of a lot. So props to those two guys for putting it all out. I think Aries, from what I saw, kind of started to win over the crowd a little bit, which I'm not sure if that's the point. He kind of seemed like he was going towards being more of a heel, which NXT probably needs a lot right now, just because everyone there seems to be so good at what they do. The crowd is obviously going to love them, and so you have to do a lot to be able to be booed. Something Samoa Joe is very good at, even though obviously people are still going to cheer him because he is Samoa Joe, and if you boo Samoa Joe, you might end up dead. But that's not the point. So Nakamura over Aries, good match. Gonna have to watch it again. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, it was the longest match in the card, a little over 17 minutes. Definitely gonna have to watch that one again. Sorry. Whew. Thanks to this lovely Yeti cup for keeping my drink nice and cold all night long. I wish they would sponsor us. These things are expensive as heck. It'd be nice to get some free stuff. Everybody likes free things. So next match is Nia Jax facing the women's champion, Asuka. I would never, ever want to even remotely think about fighting Asuka, lest she find out and I die immediately just from her looking at me. But I thought it was an interesting dynamic. It wasn't one of the barn burner great women's matches that we've seen from previous takeovers. But I thought they told a pretty good story. They did a really good job. But both of these women are obviously very strong and were portrayed as being very strong. And Nia Jax kept knocking down Asuka, and Asuka kept coming back and kicking her in the head and kicking her in the head and kicking her in the head. And eventually that's what did the job. those last two kicks that the end of the match, those hurt me. Those were some vicious. I can't talk. Vicious shots. There we go. I swear this is just water. There's no drinking going on here. But yeah, it was a good match. I wouldn't say it was a great match. I'm not a huge fan of Nia Jax. She's not very entertaining to me. She doesn't move very well. Honestly, I mean, she is intimidating, but I don't really believe it. She's been pinned by Asuka. She's tapped out to Bayley, and so they kind of diminished the monster appeal a little bit. But we'll see from there who Asuka's next opponent might be, whether it be Nia Jax again or, God forbid, it's Eva Marie. Please don't let it be Eva Marie. I beg you. That's all I ask. Please, please not. Not ever. Never, ever, forever, never, ever. Never, ever, for never, ever, ever. Come on, Cardinals, put the game away. Anywho, so last match. Samoa Joe, Finn Balor. The end has been referenced to. These guys have been feuding for 7 months now. I think this might be one of the longest rivalries WWE has done in years. These guys have been going at it nonstop, seemingly forever. And if we want to go back before that, when they were a tag team in the Dusty Classic, it's like 9 months. Forever in terms of current WWE booking. I mean, they used to do that kind of thing all the time. They just go back and forth. Brock versus Austin, et cetera, Vince versus Austin would just go on for months and months and months. But I think with people having a shorter attention span, they'd kind of done away with that. But these guys have just been going at it and going at it and going at it. And it's come to a culmination here at NXT TakeOver in a steel cage match. First off, the cage looked awesome. I like that style of cage. It looks really cool. I like the symbolism and the fact that, like a lot of the old rivalries, they would build up and build up, back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, etc. They'd build up and then they would finally end. The end would be a steel cage match because that was the big match back then. We didn't have ladder matches. We didn't have Hell in a Cell. We didn't have Elimination Chamber. We didn't have Judy Bagwell on a forklift. We didn't have these big type matches to end feuds. The cage match was the big match to end a feud. You had Dusty against Flair. You had all these types of old matches. That was a really bad listing of multiple old cage matches, but that's definitely one of the better ones, the older ones. Owen versus not Owen, the other guy. Brett, that guy. Sorry. Jeez. I'm slipping. I forget Cesaro in the last show. I can't remember Bret Hart. Anywho, so the match was really good. Finn's entrance was great, as always. Really good. The match was hard-hitting and fun. I thought it was a little shorter than I was expecting it to be. Joe hit the first muscle buster, and I thought, wow, it's kind of early to be hitting a muscle buster. Finn hit the coup de grace. No coup de grace from the top of the cage, which I almost guaranteed. I wouldn't have hit it because that could kill a man. But it didn't happen. A little disappointed in that. It was a really good match for what it was. Well, great storytelling. Very brutal. Hard fought. A lot of hard hits. But at the same time, I thought it maybe deserved. Yes, Cardinals. I thought it deserved maybe 5 or 10 more minutes. A little early before 9 o'clock, or I guess 10 o'clock if you're on the East Coast, or 4 a.m. for you Brits who, for some reason, stay up really late to watch wrestling. I don't know how you do it and go to work the next day. Props to you. But yeah, I thought it could have went on a little longer. It ended a little early, so I thought they were going to do something at the end. Balor just was laid out. That muscle buster from the second rope, brutal, absolutely brutal. Even though it was brutal, I didn't think that was going to be the finish. I thought something was going to happen to get a foot on the rope or something. It just seemed to end a little early to me. But that's not to take away from the match. itself. Like I said, really good, really hard hitting, fun show, top to bottom. I really can't complain. Um, I thought that NXT had fallen off a little bit uh, lately and hadn't been quite the show that it had been in the past. I mean, obviously, it's really hard to replace the guys that they have brought up to the main roster recently. You know, your Apollo Crews, your Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn. It's really hard to do Enzo and Big Cass. And so I felt they've been struggling a little bit, but tonight once again reminded me why I love NXT. They pulled it out. I don't know where they get it from, but they pulled it out and put on an amazing show. I was disappointed we didn't get a Bailey match. I think anyone is disappointed when there's no Bailey, other than the short little handshake at the beginning. But I digress. So it was a really good show. I enjoyed it a lot. Make sure you tell me what you thought about the show in the comments right below, or send us a tweet, myself or Matt, who is not here. Matt got home a little bit late and wouldn't be starting Takeover at the very beginning, so that's why he's not here. And you know, I'm your resident NXT guy. We all know this. But with that said, like I said, tweet us at WWE Locker Talk on Twitter. Leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts on NXT TakeOver The End. Is the end, does that just signify the end of Balor and Joe? I really hope so. I hope they move on to something new. Nakamura versus Joe would be amazing. We all know it would. I think it might go that way. Let's hope and see. But that's all the time we have tonight. Make sure you check out our draft show that we just did, Locker Talk episode 51. Matt and I do a draft for our Brand extension. I take over Raw. Matt takes over SmackDown. We we drafted general manager, we drafted an announce team, and we draft 30 wrestlers each. And I must say, mine is definitely the best. But once again, let us know what you think about that. Let us think of what you think. Let us know what you think about tonight's show. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. But with that, I will thank you for joining us. This has been WWE Locker Talk, episode 52, and we will see you next time.